You know most of the starters and veterans at camp with the Cardinals, but how about some of the non-roster invitees that are in Jupiter? Today, we're going to talk about some of the guys with the really weird numbers on the backs of their jerseys. That's today on Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou, and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Follow me on Twitter, X at JD Sports Radio. The podcast available at LO_Cardinals. Want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And if you found us on YouTube, welcome. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done that already. Make sure you comment so you're interacting with us and so you can be a part of the show, really, is the whole idea of it. I want to get your thoughts and ideas and share them with the group, share them with the class. Be sure to hit the notification button. That way you're not left out when the new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans of baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers, you join today and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of just $5 wins. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. But first bet, $5 or more. It's not just $5. You can also put in more if you want to. And you win, boom, $150 in bonus bets coming to you. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Cardinals camp has already gotten started. It's already buzzing with pitchers and catchers in attendance, and the first full squad workout coming up on Monday the 19th. Now, the casual fan knows the big names on the roster. I got a couple of the uniforms in the back there. One Paul Goldschmidt, one Nolan Arenado, Wilson Contreras, Sonny Gray, Miles Michael. You know these guys, right? The next level of fan is more familiar with not just those guys, but also Tommy Edman, Brendan Donovan, Lars Nootbaar, Nolan Gorman, Ryan Helsley, Dylan Carlson, Giovanni Gallegos, Jordan Walker. You know the drill. You know what level I'm talking about. Then you go up another level, and you've got fans who are familiar with rookie Mason Wynn or Ivan Herrera, Matthew Liberatore, Zach Thompson, plus newcomers like Andrew Kittredge, Keenan Middleton, and probably also familiar with other bullpen arms like Andre Palante, John King. And then you've got the elite level, the Locked On Cardinals type of fan that listen to podcasts every day like this, which is why you're here, and are in tune with pretty much everything that is going on with the team. Day in, day out, you know them. So going on and on and on about the meat and potatoes of the team can sometimes get a little dull, right? So how about we dig in to some other people maybe that you're not quite as familiar with, even the elite level people, okay? This is going to be a learning thing for everybody involved. I mean, how many times do you want to hear that the Cardinals targeted pitching this offseason and picked up innings eaters and guys who wanted to be in St. Louis, blah, 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 blah. You've heard me say it a billion times. Got a variety of veterans who have been here before, like Lennon Carpenter, and some who always wanted to be here, like, Sonny Gray and Kyle Gibson. I don't want to continue to repeat myself over and over and over, even though new audience, new day all the time. But instead, I want to switch things up today and talk about some of the non-roster invitees who will be at camp this year. The guys who are going to be wearing the weird numbers, like I said in the intro, like number 84 on the back of their jersey, which is, by the way, former first-round pick Cooper Hjerpe, who's going to be rocking the 84 at camp this year. But just because you don't know them well yet, you're still going to see plenty of them during spring training. You're going to hear about them during spring training, and odds are one or two of them are eventually going to make their way onto the major league roster at some point. And just think how cool you'll feel when you're already familiar with these guys' names and their backgrounds. And, you can tell the rest of the family, like, who is that guy? And you'll be like, I know the answer to that. You know why? Because Locked On Cardinals and JD helped me out with that. So friend of the show, Daniel Guerrero, also going to help us along here from STLtoday.com and the Post-Dispatch. He recently unleashed an article which went over all of these names, all of the non-roster invitee names, and we're going to use that as a guide. I'm going to link that particular article in the description and show notes for you to check out for yourself. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with what a non-roster invitee actually is, usually it's a top prospect. It can range, to be honest. It can go from a top prospect type of guy, and not necessarily one that they plan to have up in St. Louis this year, but someone that they want to get a closer look at against some big league competition. They want them mingling around with the big boys who are going to be on the team in the show. But they could also be like random minor leaguers. Remember Taylor Motter last year? Did anybody know who the hell Taylor Motter was last year until spring training? And you started seeing him popping up all over the place. And he's just some minor league veteran who, out of necessity, ended up playing a decent amount in St. Louis. Not that it was the best thing in the world, because that meant that people were injured and people weren't playing well or whatever. But at the same point, that's how we found out who Taylor Motter was and why he was on the team in the first place. So some of these guys aren't going to be around camp too long, while others will get extended looks. And then, if heaven forbid, something were to happen to one of your starters, any injuries or performance issues, then these guys can fill in at both the minor league and major league levels if needed. These are not stars by any means. Some of them could be one day, because a lot of them are really good prospects, and others you're going to say, whatever happened to so-and-so who had that really good camp in 2024? You're going to be saying stuff like that to yourself about some of these guys. So we begin our non-roster invitee journey, and we're going to talk pitchers today. That's next on Locked On Cardinals. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. I mentioned this the other day. I am going to be moving soon. All of this that you see behind me at the moment, gone. We're not going to be here anymore. We're moving into a bigger place, and we're going to have a different looking office and studio and stuff. So, extra cash would be nice. Extra cash would be nice. And you can do that and get your hands on it with FanDuel. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays. They've got exclusive props and a whole lot more. I know NBA All-Star Weekend is this weekend. There's going to be plenty of stuff for you to bet on when it comes to the NBA All-Star game activities. You've got the dunk contest and the three-point competition, and then, of course, the game. And then when the NBA gets back going again with the regular season, you can place bets on that as well. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows, which cover every league. You'll go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, then you subscribe, and you can be a part of the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. That way, if you've got like a weird shift, maybe you're a third shift kind of guy, and all the sports shows are all gone by the time that you get off work, boom, 24/7. We've got you covered there with Locked On Sports Today. And again, thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each day. You can leave comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter X anytime you want. Feedback always welcome and encouraged. First split squad games for spring training are set for February 24th. So we are going to be there very, very quickly with games against the Marlins and the Mets. And you're going to need arms to cover all of the innings in these games and throughout the entire spring training schedule. And that's where the non-roster invitee pitchers come into play. Now, first on Guerrero's list, again, linked in the show notes and in the comment section. So we have that in the info section, for you to follow along if you want to. But first on the list for Daniel Guerrero at STLtoday.com, Gordon Graceffo, also a friend of the show. We had Gordon on before last season got underway. He was really excited to get into the season after coming off such a big year in 2022, where he was the Cardinals minor league pitcher of the year, but unfortunately was limited in 2023 to just 86 innings in AAA because of a shoulder injury. Now, he had a dip in his strikeout rate compared to his breakout in 2022, but finished the season healthy as he posted a 4.92 ERA, struck out 81 batters over 21 appearances. That's 18 starts total with Memphis. This will be the 23-year-old second spring as a non-roster invitee. Now, I don't need to tell you At least I don't think so. I don't think I need to tell you that Graceffo season last year was a disappointment for everybody involved, for Gordon, for the fans, for the organization, because of all the hype that he got in 2022, where he just shot up the MLB pipeline list. The good thing is, after the deadline trades last year, the pressure's kind of off of him, of having to make an immediate impact on the big league roster sooner rather than later, coming off of his injury-marred season. Now they can be patient because they went out and got some extra arms. They can go out and be patient and getting him back to where he was before all the injuries zapped him last year. So by no means has anybody given up on Gordon Graceffo after one season where things didn't go quite so well. Again, he is still, 23 years old? Yeah. So nobody's freaking out about this. Nobody should be. All right. Everybody just relax. He's going to be fine. One of the guys talking about getting guys at the deadline last year to add depth to the organization was Tekoah Roby. Tekoah Roby, a big name to know. He logged 25 and 2/3 innings over 9 combined outings in Double-A and the Arizona Fall League. 22 years old, struck out 37 batters in his time with Springfield and in the AFL. This will be the first big league spring for Roby, who ranks as one of the top pitching prospects in the Cardinals system. Roby was number 5 at the end of last year, according to MLB Pipeline, and going to be rocking one of Torrey Holt's old numbers, number 88 at camp this year. By the way, Torrey Holt got robbed. Should be in the Hall of Fame. Ridiculous. But anyway, looking forward to seeing what Tekoah Roby has got. People are very high on him. Tink Hence is the only guy ranked higher than Roby at the end of last year. And he's the next guy on our list here because Tink is somebody who we're not exactly sure what he's going to be yet, right? They haven't decided whether he's going to be a starter, whether he's going to be a reliever. He's viewed by many as the Cardinals' top pitching prospect, comes into spring after setting a career high in innings with 96, despite battling injuries. He's still only 21 years old, maintained a 4.31 ERA over 23 starts, with most of his struggles coming over the summer once he reached Class AA. He focused his winter on correcting mechanical issues formed after he returned from the injured list last May, which is something that does happen. Like when you hear some of these guys and they dealt with injuries last year, that's one of the problems is when you're coming back from injuries like they have, especially with your arm and your shoulder area, you start adjusting things to make up for when you were dealing with pain earlier. You start your mechanics get out of whack, and then it starts screwing things up. You lose velocity, you lose accuracy. This is nothing new. This happens to almost every single pitcher who deals with any sort of injury because they start compensating for whatever's bothering them in another way. They start altering motions and deliveries, and it can turn into a big mess. So the Cardinals added a lot of arms to their organization since last year's deadline in the offseason. So like Graceffo, the Cardinals can afford to be patient with Tink Hence this season. All right, how about a name, since those are kind of like the 3 top guys, how about a name that had some buzz coming into 2023 after what was a spectacular showing in the Arizona Fall League, and then he just kind of disappeared last year? Talking about left-hander Connor Thomas. All right, now Thomas is coming off a year which he dealt with a lot of injuries. He was very inconsistent in AAA. He's 25 years old now. His season ended last year with a 5.53 ERA, just 69 strikeouts and 94 1/3 innings over 21 outings. 17 of those were starts. Actually was designated for assignment ahead of the Rule 5 protection deadline back in November and outrighted to Memphis after allowing a career-high 879 OPS to opposing hitters. And here's the thing. We talked about him last year because he won the award for the best pitcher in the Arizona Fall League before the ugly 2023 season. So people were really excited about what Connor Thomas would be able to offer in 2023, and it just went and nothing came out of it. I think, what was it, a cutter that he had added to his arsenal that was just baffling people at the Arizona Fall League. And, we thought like, wow, maybe we found something here. And then 2023, just a mess. So hoping that he can recapture that magic that he found there and applied in 2024. But he's one of those guys that he's turned into more of a depth arm than anything else than a prospect. And at age 25, He needs to impress in this camp if he wants to stick around the organization. We're going to continue making our way down the list with a guy that I think could make a sneaky impact on the Major League roster this season. We'll talk about him next on Locked On Cardinals. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event, and that is where Gametime comes in, because Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, and it doesn't have to be just sports. I know we're all sports nerds listening to a baseball podcast in February, but there are other things that you should be interested in. Talk about music coming up. They're starting to release the tour schedules for a lot of different bands and artists, and they're going to be making their way through St. Louis and through cities near you. So Gametime's got your hookup on tickets. You also got comedy. I mentioned Anthony Jeselnik the other day. What about theater? You're into that? Cool. The Gametime's got you covered on that stuff too. And what's great is if plans change and now all of a sudden something you weren't available for earlier, and now you can all of a sudden go, like maybe you got off work just in time. They've got killer last minute deals so that you're not just left standing outside paying ridiculous prices to scalpers. They've got all in prices, views from your seat, and there's the best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets, and it's for your benefit. All of it. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime today. The app available now. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Once again, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows, which are covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Now, my everydayers, you've heard me mention this next guy's name a few times. And unless he gets shelled this spring, I'm going to continue to beat the drum for this guy, and I think he's going to be a sneaky dude who ends up in the major leagues at some point this season. I don't know if it'll be right out of camp because there's a lot of guys that they picked off from other organizations. Chaim Bloom came in and gave them some recommendations, and they pulled some guys in where they might have enough depth right now where this guy ends up down in the minor leagues to start the year. But I'm talking about right-handed pitcher Andre Granillo. All right. He's the reliever. He's the closer with the cool hair and the beard. And I just dig everything about this dude. Former 14th round pick. So it's not like he was selected way high and there's all this pressure on this guy. But he finds himself in his first big league camp after an awesome showing in the Arizona Fall League. He's 23, 1.80 ERA, notched 14 Ks in 10 innings last fall after posting an 11.7 Ks per nine while with AA Springfield and AAA Memphis. Now, when he did get up to AAA, struggled a little bit, but AA, he was amazing. His 32.5% strikeout rate over the last two seasons is the highest among Cardinals minor leagues pitchers, and with a minimum of 120 innings per FanGraphs. You want swing and miss stuff out of the bullpen. That was something that we talked about that Mo and everybody was craving this year. I give you Andre Granillo. All right. Now, he won't be one of the guys who gets the first shot at a spot in the bullpen. Again, they went out and found some other arms to add the depth to make it where he wasn't supposed to be there right away. They're going to probably let him go down to AAA and be the closer down there for a little bit. But if he ends up opening some eyes in Jupiter, may not be long before the Cardinals are calling him up to St. Louis to be a part of the bullpen puzzle that they're trying to build this year. And I've been that guy that has liked what the Cardinals have done in their bullpen. They've gotten a couple of veteran arms in Middleton and Kittredge, and then they're surrounding them with lots of younger arms with a lot of potential, high ceiling type of stuff. And they've got enough of them where if one guy doesn't work out so well, ship them down and bring a different guy up, which is good. It's nice to have that depth. This next guy was part of the Tyler O'Neill trade with Boston. This is Victor Santos. Santos enters his first spring with the Cardinals after spending the first 5 years in pro ball with Boston and Philadelphia. He's 23, did not pitch in the 2023 minor league baseball season due to an elbow injury, but made up for lost time by logging 51 in the third innings during the Dominican Winter League. He owns a 3.72 ERA and an 8.15 Ks per nine over his minor league baseball career. Because he wasn't in the organization, I don't have a ton of info about Victor Santos and what he can offer. So this spring training, we're going to get our first real looks at him wearing the Cardinal red or gray, because they have to wear their gray uniforms. I still don't like that. Anyway, so we'll see. We'll see. I'm not banking on Santos doing anything special for them this year, but I'm not condemning him, saying he's garbage and he doesn't belong there. So we'll have to wait and see on him. Another former first rounder in camp is Cooper Hjerpe. Cooper Hjerpe. All right, man. I forget who posted this, and I apologize who did it, and I'm not giving you credit enough. But if I find it, I'll post it again. But it showed on one side Cooper Hjerpe, and on the other side, it was new Braves pitcher and seven-time All-Star Chris Sale. And it showed their wind-ups side by side, throwing a pitch in slow motion. And yes, they are very similar. So clearly, Hjerpe is the next Chris Sale. Case closed. Lock it up. You're done. Good job. Way to go. We got a seven-time All-Star in camp. No, I'm kidding. I mean, he could be, I guess, one day. But Guerrero writes this about Hjerpe. Coming off the season limited to 49 and a third innings between High A and the Fall League because of elbow surgery, Hjerpe enters his first Major League spring with a chance to showcase his swing and miss stuff. When healthy in 2023, the 22-year-old and 2022 first-round draftee produced a 31.7% strikeout rate and allowed 20 earned runs over 17 total appearances. The bottom line with Hjerpe for me, he just does not. He does not look like a guy that is a whole lot of fun to get in the box against, right? Especially from the left-handed side of the plate. He does not look like he's an easy person to hit off of. And again, and I'm sorry to repeat myself, but with the depth that the organization acquired, there's no need to push him this year coming off the elbow injury, although he did make it back last year and he seemed to be fine. It wasn't like he had Tommy John or something like that. They just cleaned up some loose pieces that were going on there in the elbow. But good things for him and the Cardinals moving forward. People seem to be pretty excited about Cooper Hjerpe and what his future will hold. I don't know if he's going to be a starter. It looks like he could be one of those really good, awkward lefties to come out of the pen and just, shut things down against left-handed hitters, but he could be more than that. We'll see. Still very, very young. Again, 22 years old. The first rounders continue here with right-hander Michael McGreevy. Michael McGreevy enters his second big league spring after logging the second most innings in minor league baseball with 153 at a 4.49 ERA, 11-6 record in 24 starts while with Memphis. 23 years old. Low walk, high ground ball tendencies, focus his winter on adding some extra velocity that can be sustained over an entire season and one that may help him stay in a more crowded pitching mix. Michael McGreevy, to me, when you look at the numbers and you look at the style, he's not a swing and miss guy. Reminds me a lot of Dakota Hudson before Dakota Hudson got hurt. And I'm not saying that's the kind of pitcher he's going to be, but just my first impression of what I see with his numbers, it reminds me a lot of Dakota Hudson. And remember, Hudson was somebody that the Cardinals were very highly on, another former first-round pick, and then the injuries got him, and he just never was quite the same, had trouble fighting the strike zone. And but when you talk about innings eaters, maybe in the mold of a guy like a Kyle Gibson, maybe Michael McGreevy becomes that type of pitcher one day, which is a solid major league starter. Okay. Nobody's saying this guy's going to be a number one or number two one day, but you still need guys to fill out the 4 and the 5 spots in your rotation. Maybe McGreevy becomes one of those guys. All right. We got time for a couple more here. How about a couple of guys who dealt with injuries last year? Let's go to Wilking Rodriguez. A name that was mentioned a lot last year, and things just did not work out for him health-wise in 2023. 5 2/3 minor league innings because of a shoulder injury and subsequent setbacks. Hard thrower. Remember, he's upper 90s. He's older, though. Remember that, too. 33 years old, returns for his second year with the Cardinals after he was signed to a minor league deal back in November, because remember they released him and then they brought him back. 7 2/3 innings of relief and allowed 5 earned runs while in the Venezuelan Winter League over the offseason. The Cardinals, again, they seemed high on him last year. They're willing to give him another shot because they like the triple-digit type of potential with his arm. But again, 33 years old. And the Cardinals were high on a lot of guys last year, and it didn't work out all the time. It didn't work out all the time. And Wilking Rodriguez was certainly one of those guys that they were hoping would be a part of their bullpen, and it never came to fruition. So I'd love to be surprised by Rodriguez, but I'm not holding my breath on this one. And finally, let's go to a guy who was with the Cardinals last year, and injuries got him. Packy Naughton, the lefty, began 2023 on the opening day roster in the bullpen, made 4 appearances in relief before requiring season-ending surgery on the flexor tendon in his throwing arm. So major surgery there. The 27-year-old was outrighted off the 40-man roster in November ahead of the Rule 5 protection deadline. While at the majors in 2022, which is where we saw him a lot more, had a 4.78 ERA in 32 innings of relief. Another guy that, if he comes back from the injury, could be serviceable, but he's not somebody I'm banking on this year. When it comes to the left side of the bullpen for the Major League roster, John King, JoJo Romero, you've got a Zach Thompson, maybe even Matthew Liberatore, who are going to be out there. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Packy Naughton to crack the roster, but we'll see what happens here in spring training. There are some other names at camp, part of the pitching staff that are non-roster invitees, but we're not going to go through all of them. But if you want to go to Daniel Guerrero's full article, again, I've linked it in the description and in the show notes. Go check it out. He talks about some other guys, some guys with some local ties in St. Louis, but the full article is available there. But those are the ones that I found kind of the most interesting when it came to the guys that I think are going to make more of an impact during spring training, and you're going to hear their names a little bit more. So we can go into position players next week when the full workouts begin, because we got a lot of them to talk about. A lot of position players, a lot of middle infielders to talk about. So we'll do that next week. But let me know your thoughts on these guys as far as the pitchers go. Who do you see surprising some people? Are there some guys you're high on? Are there guys that you wish we didn't have to hear about anymore? It's fine. Let me know who you're most interested in hearing more about, and we'll try to do more of that here at Locked On Cardinals. Again, thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on Twitter X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like and subscribe on YouTube to help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. I'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.